All right, good morning. Happy Tuesday. Welcome into another edition of Catching Up with Tommy Mac, brought to you by Team Tommy Mac, and here on the 1010XL podcast platform, 1010XL.com. The 1010XL app. We are live on Facebook. We are also recording inside the 1010XL podcast studios. We'll be sharing it all over the place, including YouTube. Make sure you go to the 1010XL Jaguars YouTube channel. You'll see this show and many others, and we keep adding more people. So thank you for all the support. We appreciate it. Like I said, Team Tommy Mac brings you this show. J-Dog Junk Removal got me some new swag. Whoop, I went the wrong way. Yeah, man. This is nice. Nice Under Armour shirt. I'm excited. J-Dog, veteran-owned and operated. They're here to serve you in our community, man. Whether you need some junk taken care of or getting some debris, construction debris hauled away, make sure you give them a shot. Get 844-GET-JDOG and JDOG.com. All right, lots to get into. My man Grammage is here. Let's say good morning to him. And, man, we got a lot of stuff. I found this article this morning. Very interesting. We're going to get into it. We got a lot more to get into, but let's start with saying hello to my man Grammage. Grammage, how you doing?
Good morning, sir. How are we?
I'm feeling great, man. I'm feeling great. We had a great weekend in Orlando. My kids rocked. Kelsey came in from L.A. She was teaching and performing for the West Coast Dance Explosion Dance Company, while my Harley and all her teammates were competing for Nancy Dance Studios at that competition and convention. So at a certain point, one of my daughters up there being an assistant teacher, showing the kids how to do it, and my youngest in the class, taking class from her bigger sister. So pretty damn cool. They all did well, including my Harley, so very exciting. But I feel great, man. Got a good workout yesterday. I didn't lift for like 3 days, just being on the road. Did some push-ups, stuff like that, but nothing like throwing that weight around, on that first day back, and I'm not too sore, but I feel good. We got a good show lined up for us. GM Gladstone making wholesale changes. Look, it's interesting, and I found this out. I knew it before, but I found it out recently from my good friend Jack Mueller. When there's a new GM, that whole staff stays on till after the draft. I mean, they do, no matter when they get hired or an interim or whatever, because they've been doing all the work. They've got all the work. They got all the prospects, all the scouts, everybody, director of college scouting, director of pro personnel, all those guys, right? Assistant GM. They've done all the work. So you do. A new GM comes in. It's kind of and you have to do the work. The firing's coming unless somehow you stay on. But they're coming, but you still have to finish the work. Because why? If you don't, you'll have a bad reputation and you won't get hired by another team unless you have a really good friend somewhere that may know different. But you've got to finish the job, and then they let you go. And it's, listen, any professional sport or anything like that, man, it's vicious. It's, what have you done for me lately? What are you going to do for me? And if I'm ready to move on, we're moving on. And it's too bad. Go find a job. They'll get their severance. They'll get their year or two of pay. They'll be fine for a little while. Ethan Wall, one of them, he'll get picked up by somebody. They'll be friends. It's a big fraternity. That's how it works. You get let go by one team. You call your friends around the league and see if they can, even if it's as a consultant. A lot of these coaches, when they retire, they get hired as consultants, and it's a pretty good gig. They get paid good money to do what? Just watch film. Give the head coach a little bit of, hey, this is what I'm seeing, this is what I think, blah, 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 and they get paid, So it's not a bad gig, but, hey, that's the way it is. Wholesale changes. Best of luck. I think it's Jeep Christ. He's gone. Tom Gamble's gone. Ethan Waugh I mentioned, and Michael Davis also gone. Mia O'Brien did report that from 1010XL. Great job by her, but at the end of the day, you got to make the changes. They got their guys coming in. And we'll look at the end of the day. Whatever. Just win, baby. And I know God bless you, Al Davis. I remember that day you walked in that restaurant, man. It was unbelievable. I was like in awe. And he was in his silver jumpsuit, sweatsuit Raider thing. It was just incredible. But just win. Just win. All good stuff. No doubt about it. All right. So, Grammage, we'll take a look around the league in just a second because I do want to talk about a couple things. But we're going to get into, there was an article this morning, Douglas Fritz from SportsIllustrated.com. Now, he was more the devil's, he was kind of playing like a devil's advocate on the assessment of drafting Travis Hunter. Like, what's realistic? What how can you use him? What are you going to use him for? Both sides of the ball, et cetera, et cetera. Interesting stats. We're going to get in. Good morning, Dale. We're going to get into it. But before we do, just around the league, really quick, I mentioned my swag. You know who's got juice? A.J. Brown. Did you hear about A.J. Brown bringing in John Legend to sing while he asks his fiancee or his girlfriend to marry him?
No.
Yes, he literally had John Legend singing while he's making his, professing his love and getting engaged. That's some juice, my man. I don't know what that costs, but that's pretty damn cool. Because I even asked, like, when people get engaged, I'm like, oh, how'd you do it? Like, what was it like? What'd you do? I remember my engagement, and the night was fantastic. It was an absolutely incredible night and well planned out. It went great, and obviously she said yes, thank goodness, 25 years later. But
I bet John Legend wishes he was there.
Yeah, you could sing, John. I don't know, but that's pretty damn cool. I thought that was pretty damn cool. All right, Justin Tucker, I mean, now this is what I don't get, I do get, but look, he gets cut by the Ravens. You saw it coming. They drafted the kid in the 6th round. They haven't drafted a kicker in 30 years. I think the writing was on the wall, after the draft. But Justin Kicker has been officially cut or released by the Baltimore Ravens. This guy, not only one of the greatest kickers of all time, I was reading this other article, like one of the highest jersey sales all throughout Baltimore. I mean, in commercials, represents these companies. And look, things that happened, 9 years ago? 2012 to 2016 is when they're saying this all took place. And there's a lot of accusers. He's denying it. Okay? They're a little graphic. I'm not going to get into that, but there's a good amount of accusers. What happened after 2016? Did he just stop? Like, did he just go, like, stone cold, I'm quitting, smoking? I'm not going into those places anymore. Did he get married? Like, his life, I'm just curious, like, why? And I'm okay. Look, you have every right to come out whenever you want to come out and say this month, abused me or did whatever, and I'm all for that. I'm curious as what happened after 2016 with Justin Tucker. Like, are there other, like, stories? Are there other stuff going out there?
It's just weird that it just falls off a cliff.
What's that?
It's weird that there's these 4 years of all this stuff happening, and then it just falls off a cliff. That doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Things can change in your life, and that can happen.
Yeah.
I'll never forget this. Totally opposite. Seth Payne, my good friend, we used to go out all the time. And after I met Christina, like, it was over. I went out with her. And we'd go out with everybody, and have fun and all that. And he told me, he's like, I've never seen anything like it. You just went from being single to over. And I said, yeah, changed my life. Right? So maybe for him, I don't know. I'm just curious how it ended 2016.
Or maybe one of the girls or somebody actually threatened to do something in 2016 and it scared him off, or
maybe you're right.
You just don't know. But
something happened there. But one of the greatest kickers, man, missed 10 kicks last year. Now you know why. Now you know why. I mean, this guy was 93%. I think I saw in all his kicks, and then last year missed 10 kicks. People didn't tell him to. Don't go around breaking young girls' hearts, Justin. You should have known better. And look, you're going to pay your dues, and you should, no question about that. Real quick, it might take a minute because I want to get into it. So Abdul Carter, the draft pick of the Giants, is having trouble finding a jersey number. He asked LT, Lawrence Taylor, if he could have 56. LT said no. Go make your own number. No problem. I wonder if any money's involved. 11 was next, and Phil Simms said no. You're not getting that one either. So here's a question, and before I ask the question, you look at, there's two sides to this, the old school and the new school, right? I wouldn't have the audacity to do that. Like, that's LT. Like, I wouldn't ask for LT's number. No matter how good I thought I was, I wouldn't go into the Giants my first, couple days or week or month or whatever, be like, what number you want? Yeah, I want the greatest player of all time's number, take it out of retirement, and give it to me. I would never have that audacity, right? But then the other side of it is, well, why can't I ask? Why is, and I'm asking here. I'm not saying, I think it's interesting because I'm more like, man, I would never ask LT for that. But then the younger generation would be like, well, bump that, Tom. Why can't we ask for it? What if I am that good? I mean, I'm the third pick in the draft. I got to be pretty damn good. I'm the first pick of the Giants, right? Early in the draft. Why can't I? I had a good college career. Why can't I ask for it? You know? What would you say to that? Where do you lie in that? Because you're an old soul in a young man's body, but you know you are. You're level-headed, young guy. But where do you sit with that? I don't know where I sit. I kind of feel like, man, you really had some audacious freaking attitude, like you're gonna think you're that good. But at the same time, if you got that swag and you can back it up, it's a big deal. What do you think?
I think you need to get your own number.
Yeah.
At least
11, though? You don't think you could have Phil's number?
No. Phil Simms was
I know who he is.
And this is coming from someone who is a diehard Florida Gator fan, and there's no retired jerseys.
Right.
It drives me crazy when people wear 15.
Okay.
Drives me crazy.
Fair.
That's arguably the greatest college football player of all time wore that number. It should be retired, and it's not.
Yep.
Steve
like 22 for Boston College, right? Like you would never give somebody 22.
And I do think some teams get carried away with retire. Shadur Sanders getting number 2 retired at college. What are we doing?
That was so
what
dumb.
are we doing? That's so stupid.
They were 13-10.
That's so dumb.
Get your number retired because you got 13-10.
I think Travis Hunter retiring 12 is fair. You win the Heisman.
The Heisman's different.
I think you win a Heisman, you get it retired. That's a fair trade-off.
Fair.
Lawrence Taylor is arguably, probably, the best defensive player to ever breathe air, Tommy. And Abdul Carter has not played a down in the NFL.
I agree.
And he's like, no, let me have it. I don't blame LT at all for being like, go get your own number,
I
bro.
I don't either. But that's not what I was trying to bring up. Like, do you have a problem with him even asking?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I do because
I think younger people would be like, no, I don't. So who cares about LT?
I have a problem with that because I think you're stepping into an organization where that number means something, where that's really important. And you're a great player. They made you a 3rd overall pick in the draft for a reason. They expect you to be a great player. They expect you to have a Hall of Fame type of career. It doesn't change the fact you still have not played it down in the NFL.
Yeah.
If he had played, if this was, after year 2, maybe you won Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
He's a double-digit sack guy every year. He's a monster.
Okay,
that's different.
If you prove yourself.
Yeah. And that doesn't even mean you got to be a Hall of Fame level player to then ask for it.
Right.
But give me a couple of Sundays that you're playing ball.
I think it'd be kind of cool if LT was like, okay, for money, number 1. Number 2, if you don't play up to expectations, I take it back. That'd be pretty cool.
Or the reverse. Be like, I'll tell you what. You win Defensive Rookie of the Year, it's yours.
There you go.
Or you get me 15 sacks, it's yours. Or however he wants to do it. I would actually love that.
Yeah.
I would love that. If the old guard was like, you guys can have the numbers.
Right.
But you got to go earn it a little bit.
Go do something first.
Because what I'm not going to do, at least if I were a Giants fan or if I'm LT, what I'm not going to do is let somebody wear that 56 number and then go get 6.5 sacks.
No, hell no. That's when you take it back. You're like, no, that's not.
And that's what I mean. Everyone expects Abdul Carter to be a great player.
Yeah.
You just never know.
Listen, he's going to be a rotation. He's got Brian, right? Brian Burns.
And Kayvon Thibodeau.
Thibodeau, and then him. Yeah.
So it's like, am I gonna give 56 to a rotation? He's not gonna be rotational, but you get what I mean.
I do know what you get. And with 3 of those rushers, realistically, maybe 10 will get him.
I personally have always
sacks, I mean.
Again, with some teams and people take it too far.
Yeah.
But certain players that are at that type of level and really, really hallowed ground.
Yeah.
Then I have no problem with them being like, you ain't wearing my number, bro. I earned that thing to be in cement.
What numbers in Jayville are untouchable, would you say? Freddie? Well, Tony, he's 71. He's in the Hall of Fame. So.
I'm glad you brought that up because if a running back gets drafted by the Jaguars and is like, I want 28, and then he gets 3 yards a carry, I got a problem with that.
Yeah.
That bothers me.
They don't give out 28, though, do they? I haven't seen 28.
I haven't, and they shouldn't.
Yeah.
They should not. That shouldn't be a...
No, I totally agree with that. What about... Well, is there anybody else?
I think I'd go as far as say 71, 28, 82.
Okay.
Those 3.
Get Jimmy in there.
Those 3, and again...
What about 87? Keenan was...
I think 87. I loved Keenan.
Yeah.
But I think those three is like.
Yeah.
If you say who are the three best Jaguars of all time, it's those three.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And they're well deserved, no question about that. Yeah, I think I agree with what people are saying online and what you said initially. Go make your own number. It's interesting, like when you want to just go make your own number. Or maybe all the good numbers are taken. I don't know. You know what I mean? 5's taken, I know, right? Because that's hey, Levant.
Well, there's this thing, and it's part of why I don't agree with like the new age on this. There's all these guys now are like, I'm different. I'm that guy.
No,
you know it's me.
Listen, Dramage, the media calls everybody now generational. It's
correct.
Like, not everybody's generational.
So I have no problem with that not being fed into further for somebody.
Yeah.
Actually, you guy that's never played it down in the NFL, Lawrence Taylor, am not going to roll out the red carpet for you.
No.
I'm going to make you show up on Sundays and perform some.
Yeah, I like it.
Because I guarantee if this was year 3 and he'd been a double-digit sack guy for years.
Sure. Maybe you could change into it.
I think there'd be a much different conversation.
Yeah. He should go make his own number.
I agree.
Just go make
his own
number. Absolutely. Yeah, I got the haircuts here, Douglas. I sure did. Well, look, this brings me into, because we mentioned Keenan McCardell, this brings me into Travis Hunter talk. I saw this really cool article this morning, Douglas Fritz from SI.com. Now, he kind of went, it felt like a devil's advocate type tone, why he's not going to work out. I don't believe in that, but he has some interesting stats in there, interesting little bits of data that I found pretty fascinating, and comparing them to other guys, because when we talk about, these guys that are, transformational, generational, they're going to change the game. Well, we talked about it last week. I don't think Travis Hunter's changing the game by just playing wide receiver. He's going to change the game by playing both ways. That'll be different than just hasn't happened in a very long time. I don't think he's all of a sudden going to be better than Chase and Jefferson and Hill, and maybe he's as good. That'd be great. But we'll see about that. But we got to talk about how this offense is going to look. But let me throw this at you real quick. So you talk about snaps guys play. The leading guy in the entire league last year was a safety, Carolina safety. Xavier Woods played in 1,214 snaps. That was the highest out of anybody in 2024. Receivers, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and Amon St. Brown, all three had over 1,000 snaps on offense in 2024. Now, he's not going to be able to do full-time. I mean, you're talking, what is that, like 2,000?
Yeah, you're not playing 2,200 snaps.
He'll wear it down. Yeah. He'll never be able to do it. So what's a potential? 800 on offense, 400 on defense? How important is it to Travis Hunter it sounds like it's really important to play both ways. Now, Lance Zierlein, who we all know, who's a real draft analyst, NFL guy, been around for a long time, he has questions about Travis as a corner and as a receiver. The one question as a corner is he's got to prove that he can handle the rigors of NFL run support if he's going to play corner, even at 400 snaps. That's fair to say. So is he willing to come up and lay the hit, right? We'll see about that. On offense, has average toughness with run after the catch. Meaning gets hit, might go down, right? I guess that's what that would mean. I mean, you make somebody miss and take off, that's different. But if someone drills you or hits you, you're going down pretty fairly easily. I'm assuming that's what that means. I don't know what else the toughness would be.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're bouncing off hits, you're tough, right? That's a tough after the catch or during the run.
Yeah, I guess.
Type player.
I don't know. That seems like a weird. I mean, how many receivers are just breaking 2 or 3 tackles? You know what I mean?
Well, I don't know about 2 to 3, but maybe not on the first tackle. They go down. Maybe that's what he means. An attack.
Yeah, I get it. Receivers are typically looking to finesse you and make you miss, anyways. And
yeah, sometimes you can't.
Yeah, I mean,
you get hit right away, or you get they're right in front of you. You gotta bounce off them.
I mean, sure, he's not Mike Evans,
right?
But
he's not built like Mike Evans. 6 foot, 188, 88 pounds. So the top cornerbacks played over 1,100 snaps last year, just that corner. So then it comes to, okay, well, what if he only plays part-time on defense? How is the other, it's from a not a scheme, I think they'll figure that out, but a communication, not making mistakes, being used to playing with him. If he's not going to be full-time, you're going to throw him in on third down or whatever. Can it still gel together? And then on offense, how are you going to use Travis Hunter, right? Because, by the way, I can't stand when people say that, right? Like, we're all supposed to go, right. You know what I mean? And, Cavuto says it. Gladstone says it. A lot of guys, right? Like, right. but my question is, Cohen early before the draft said the offense will run through Brian Thomas Jr. I think you still have to do that. He's still got to be your number one, go-to guy, at least starting off, making those tough catches, the quick slants, in traffic, the digs in traffic. You're going to go deep, of course, with him as well. He's a well-rounded player. You're going to try to set up Travis Hunter a ton. So, rub routes, get him one-on-one in space, get him off the ball a little bit so they can't really jam him, maybe as a, so he can motion a little bit, just create space for him because he's dynamic in space. But, like what kind of blocker is Travis going to be? Is he going to be the blocker they're clamoring for, right? They want their receivers to be badass blockers. Well, a lot of teams do, right? So what's this offense going to look like? Forget the running game for now because we need the running game when we know that, right? So whoever that is, they're going to figure that out. But from the passing game, right? I mean, who's your possession receiver? We don't know yet with Travis, right? He catches everything in college. I'm sure he's going to catch a ton in the pros, but is he going to be able to go and make that tough catch? Don't give me college on the tough catch because that doesn't mean a whole lot to me. I'm talking tough catch over the middle, a quick slant, that safety or backer, smashing him right away. You know what I mean? Like, can he be a go-to guy for that? Can his body hold up for that when he's playing both ways? There's something, we all think, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but we think like, oh, no, he can play both ways. And then you're like, well, when we really break it down, I'm sure he can play both ways, but do we want him to really play a lot of both ways? You know what I mean? I want him on offense. I don't want him on defense. I keep hearing reports that he's okay as a corner. He's not like a shut down, I'll take care of your number one wide receiver type corner. He's not that kind of corner. He's a good corner, I guess. They said it. Well, he was the award winner, I guess. So he knows how to play corner. But he struggles. From what I've read on just scouting stuff, he struggles with a bigger receiver at the line to jam him. He's maybe not as physical. So it's going to be interesting how this whole thing works out. But from an offensive standpoint, look, we all know you got to have one, you got to have two, you got to have three in the slot, you got to have the tight end, you got to have the back out of the backfield. You got 5 targets pretty much every passing down, right? Right. So, how are we going to use this Travis Hunter? We're not just going to send him deep every time. We can't. They'll just double him, and he's not going to outrun everybody. Maybe he can. I don't know. If he's Tyreek Hill, he can. I hear the comparison. Bees gave him Justin Jefferson, who I mentioned. He outruns plenty of people. Seems bigger. I don't even know what his dimensions are, but he seems a little bit thicker. So that'll be interesting how they do that. Obviously, they got to have the line, they got to have the running game and all that. But how are they going to really? Does the passing offense still go through Brian Thomas Jr.? I say it should, and I think it has to. And I think the more you can get Travis Hunter one-on-one in space, the better off he's going to be and the better off your team's going to be. But then you get into playing both ways. It's going to be really challenging, And how do you do it? When do you put him in on defense? And what if he's not better than the corners you have? What if he's just not? What if the other guys are better than him? Are you just going to he wants to play both ways. I get it. You going to force the issue? The first-round pick, traded up a lot of capital. Does he get what he wants? You know what I mean? I mean, these things are going to play themselves out. I get it, but how is he going to fit in that regard? And how much is he going to fit? You don't want to wear him out. I mean, I don't. If the highest guys are getting 1,200 snaps, I don't want them that much higher at all. I don't even, I don't want them to hit those marks. I don't want them to hit 1,500, 1,700. No way. Maybe this 800, 400 is a good little thing.
That seems about right.
This guy had it at 900, 300, right? I just saw it. 900 is close to the top. Like, you need to back off him a little bit on offense if you're going to play him on defense that much.
Well, especially if Liam Cohen's offense, which I think it does, plans to run the ball a lot and get some heavier sets in there.
What kind of blockers
there's a lot of plays that you don't even need him in there necessarily, I don't think. If you only have, I think there's a world where they might have some 2 tight end sets in there, and then Brian Thomas Jr. as the X outside, and then you maybe have a slot and Parker Washington or something on the field. Besides that, you won't have other receivers in some heavier sets, so you can just by default not have him in the game.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with what you were saying a minute ago.
But then are you using him on defense more? I think he cemented at least wide receiver 2 on offense, but I think it remains to be seen on defense.
Yeah, I agree.
And if I'm a corner on this team, I'm like, bring it on, man. They say Colorado.
Well, I think
I'm taking the position. You have to take it from me.
And I think at corner, you've got 3 guys not named Travis Hunter right now that are expecting to start.
Yeah.
Tyson Campbell, Jarian Jones, and Jordan Lewis all expect to be starters day one.
Right.
So where does Travis Hunter fit into that? Obviously you can play more than just 3 corners throughout a game. But to your point, he doesn't need to play 600 snaps throughout assuming health, of course. When guys get injured, that things change. But I just think it's back to what we've talked about. The most important thing out of all of this is you've got to use him where he's best and helps them win the most and where they make life the hardest on the other team.
Yep.
To me, Tommy, Brian Thomas Jr. is wide receiver 1, and that will be the case until proven otherwise, and I don't think he will be proven otherwise. Travis Hunter could be the best wide receiver 2 in the NFL.
Yeah.
If you give him 6 to 8 games to get his feet underneath him, and he plays like I think he's going to play on offense, and you've got BTJ as the X that's keeping teams up at night, and I have exactly what you're saying, rub routes, underneath stuff, movement, one-on-one. Getting him one-on-one.
Yep.
I think teams are going to have nightmares trying to guard him, and he's going to be a problem.
Well, think about when Kirk was effective. Get everybody out of the way and let Kirk go to work one-on-one. Can you imagine trying to cover Travis Hunter in an open field one-on-one and him off the ball or him coming in motion? And I'm telling you, when you beat your crosser, just that first, they don't catch up.
No.
Brian Thomas, they don't just throw it out in front of them and let Brian Thomas or Travis, whoever it is, they don't catch up to him once they get that boom, boom, and then go. You know what I mean? So I could see that him being very, very effective in that kind of way. And look, you that's how you want to use him. You let BTJ do the dirty work, and he'll still get his big play opportunities, and he'll make big plays himself. And then you throw in, Travis Hunter one-on-one, throw in De'Ami Brown, throw in Brenton Strange. Who's going to be the guy out of the backfield? All those kind of things. So that could be granted, Trevor is the key here, and if given time, he should be better. Thanks, Dale. Jefferson's 6'1", 195. So a little bit bigger, but not really.
So
Travis just looks like thin.
Yeah, he does.
He doesn't look like he's got a whole lot to him. But when you say 190 pounds is not small.
Yeah.
And 6 feet is not small either. So if he walked in here right now, you'd be like, okay, he's a good-sized guy. But he doesn't look maybe just needs a little bit of muscle.
Where this offense the offensive passing game can really excite me, Tommy, is if I've got a running game, first and second downs, that's getting downhill a little bit and doing pretty well, and they're starting to get back to that 4 or 5 yards a carry type of thing, and I'm making those safeties come up, I'm making those backers come up, I'm making them play more aggressive. By the way, I got a guy that wears number 7, and he'll cook you on a skinny post.
Yep.
He'll cook you vertically. He'll get you down the field, and he will catch that ball on you 50, 60 yards down the field. I got that. Okay, well, we got to bracket him. We need to bring safety help. Oh, by the way, Travis Hunter, 25 yards crosser, across he's wide open or whatever.
Think about this. I'll do it in a smaller version, but think this is as wide as a field. You know, you've got Brian Thomas Jr. here. You motion out Travis, right, a little bit, get him off the ball so they can't jam him. You throw a dig route, deep dig route, 15, Brian Thomas. You throw a post the other way with Travis Hunter. You know what I mean? Like, that safety is going to be like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, this speed is coming at me. But the caveat is what? That Trevor can make the throw on time and has time to make the throw.
I think
that makes sense.
I think there's two caveats. What you just said and also being able to run the ball.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You got to have those safeties worried about coming up and making some plays. Look, he did it with Bucky Irvin, so you got to assume he's going to do it here. And there's plenty of options in that running back room now, without a doubt. So that's going to be interesting to see how that room shakes itself out and who's still here at the end of the day, you know, once the regular season comes. But totally agree with that. And then, you know, offensive line. Look, I know I've been asked a lot online about – and I don't want to – I'm not going to get into it too much because I feel like I'm being too repetitive. But, again, someone asked, well, what would you have done on the O-line? We addressed the interior, which I agree. I can't wait to see Wyatt Millum. And I can't wait to see one of our defensive tackles saying, oh, you don't think you don't think we can touch our own quarterback, do you? Let's see how good that you are. You know, let's see how tough and physical you are. That's the kind of camp I want to see. I want to see Mason Smith and Wyatt go at it, man. That's what I want to see. I want to see some viciousness, you know. So, okay, I agree with that, but your tackles are just okay. And I don't know about Fred. I'm interested to see him, Johnson, seeing if he can do anything. I know he's had some starts. He's a big dude, played for Florida. You know, he's a good player. Can he, you know, show that he's better than average? Can the O-line coach and the attitude make everybody better than average? Maybe. We've already talked about this with Walker and Anton, who obviously has got to turn it around as well. But to me, we're just going in with an okay O-line right now. Today, it's okay. Maybe they end up being, you know, really good. I never thought the O-line was a huge problem the last 2 years. It was our defense that stunk. I mean, our offense was at least okay. I mean, there were times where it wasn't. Obviously, couldn't get the first downs, couldn't do this, couldn't do that. But we were in games. Tell me we weren't. What do we have, 10 one-score games? And how many of those were we ahead? And our defense gave up the lead. So can you get by with an okay line? You can. Play calling, quarterback, run game if he can make some things happen. But we all know we want better than okay. You know, you think about all the upgrades that they did across the roster. Well, did you upgrade your O-line? Okay, in the interior, yeah, I'd say that. Although I think center's a wash. Mitch Morse was fine. He wasn't like he was having troubles out there at all.
I think they made their line deeper.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That doesn't mean, though, that at the top end it's going to be a big difference. You know what I mean? Like, I think they have more good offensive linemen that are backups included of guys that I think could potentially replace a starter or if someone goes down, like, could perform. But that doesn't mean that at their top end, it doesn't mean they're the Eagles at the top end. You know what I mean?
Right. And we want the Eagles, but, you know, look, if you can get by with defense, you know, and get by with an okay offense, score enough points, it's fine. But we all know that there's been too many struggles, and I truly believe last year, and I don't blame him. I think Trevor got to a point where he didn't trust his O-line at all, and who can blame him? And when you don't trust them, you start looking at the rush. You start worrying about the rush. You start getting into bad habits. It's just
start rushing throws, and you're inaccurate, and
just off. You know,
you're just not playing winning football at that point.
No, right.
Yeah, because Trevor's got all the talent in the world, but when he starts doing the off his back foot throws and it's 3rd and 2, they're sending a blitz and he's just chucking it 40 yards deep.
Or he's missing an open guy just by 2, whatever. So again, I'm expecting him to be better, to be more accurate. Last year he was His least accurate, I think, it's 60%. That's got to be around 67, 68%. He's average career at 65, so 65 and up's the calling these days. And a lot of times when, they're rubbing these guys open, those are easy pitch and catches. You just hit them, give them the ball, and let them go. But I think when we see all the speed, and let's not forget, De'Ami Brown can run too. Maybe he's not a huge focal point, but he's going to be able to offset some things, get him open in the open field, give him a crossing pattern to work with. You're going to have, look, somebody's getting doubled. If Travis and Brian Thomas Jr. are out on the field at the same time, someone is getting doubled. They're going to have to. And then wait till they put them on the same side of the field. That'll keep a defensive coordinator up at night. Unless what? I get a badass pass rush, and I'm going to beat that average O-line, and that quarterback's never going to have a chance. Right? That's how you combat an offense with explosive offensive players. But you got to get to the QB, right? Joe Burrow does it with just an average O-line, but he's absolutely phenomenal where he throws the football, and he's got phenomenal weapons to go with it, right? And so do we now, too. At least one in Brian Thomas Jr., and we're assuming Travis will be, that kind of explosive type player as well. You don't trade up for him if not, right? So he's going to be a big part of it. I just thought, after reading that article, man, it was very, very interesting. Like, how are we going to use Travis Hunter on both sides of the ball? What's a realistic count? And are you going to have a count? Now, he's young, man. He can run for days. I'm not saying that. And maybe for the first 3 years or 4 years, he can do all that, right? He could play, 1,200, 1,500 snaps. Let's say this, 1,200 snaps. So to be, to transform the game, you got to do more than 1,200, right? Let's just say you do. I think if you did 800, 400, you're definitely changing the game. Nobody does that. Nobody's doing that. Nobody's done that for
especially if he's legitimately making plays on both sides of the ball.
Right. Like he's really
if he's catching a touchdown and then forcing a fumble, like
right.
It's changing a game. You know what I mean?
Right,
like
exactly. On both sides of the ball. So maybe 1,200 is the number. Can you? I think you could manage 1,200 all day, and I do think you'd go 800 offense, 400 defense. 2/3 offense, a third on defense. You just got to figure out, when you put him in there. And is it nickel? Maybe. You can blitz from nickel a lot better than from corner.
And I still don't really know. Campanile, did I pronounce that right?
Campanile, yeah.
Campanile.
Our defense coordinator, yep.
I still don't really know if he's more of a man or a zone guy or kind of both, or I haven't really gotten a read on exactly.
4-3, probably cover 2, heavy.
Because Travis Hunter as a corner was definitely at his best in zone.
Yeah.
100%.
Off ball,
because
I could see that.
Because he's such a good athlete and he has such good instincts that he's great in zone coverage. He's great at backing off his zone a little, baiting guys, that type of thing. What he's not good at is man-to-man coverage against big receivers.
Right.
That is when he really struggles.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't think, and it, with Liam saying he's going to be primarily on offense, I think this kind of put this to bed. I never thought he could really be your true outside every down corner.
Yep.
Because against bigger receivers in college, he struggled. What do you think Mike Evans is going to do?
No, right.
A.J. Brown is going to do.
Yeah, right.
You just can't do that.
Right.
But if he's playing primarily zone, if he's playing primarily cover 2, cover 3, and then, third downs, he's in the nickel, that type of thing, he can really make plays, I think, in that type of role.
If you play zone, you better have a rush. You got to have a rush anyway.
Yeah.
But if you play zone and that quarterback has all day long to throw, I don't care who's covering, they're going to be open and they're going to make throws. That's how they do it. There's always a hole in zone, no matter who's playing it. But you crush the hole by crushing the QB, so you can't just stand there and throw it.
You talk about
into the hole.
That brings me to something else. You talk about pressure for next year. We're not talking about it right now because the draft just happened and everything, but Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker have to have their best season together this year.
Well, I think
Trayvon has only ascended since his rookie season. Yeah. We know kind of Josh's thing. It's been up and down, whatever. no excuses, man.
Yeah, no, I agree. And look, I think it will be better. I think Armstead alone being inside will be a lot better. I think Mason Smith his last 3 games were pretty darn good. Again, my only concern is that when he gets tired, he gets up in his stance, and that's not good. We've seen that. I like the Emmanuel Agba signing.
Loved it.
He's going to be very good for us off the bench. He's a better Arden Key. I think that's fair to say. And I liked Arden. I thought I wouldn't have let Arden go. I would have kept him because he built this city. No, he gave us 7 sacks, 6 sacks. We take that as a backup all day long.
100%.
Your starters get double digits. Your backups get 6, 8 sacks, and you're rocking and rolling. You're playing with some good fire there.
We get Agba on some switches.
Just remember, they didn't really address the D-line. They didn't. We're going in with the same guys for the most part.
Is there a world where they could maybe trade for a D tackle or something for a 6th or 7th round pick? Somebody. This guy in particular ended up being terrible for the Jaguars, so he's not a great example himself. But is this type of transaction? Remember in 2021 when they traded for Malcolm Brown? Malcolm Brown from the Saints. They gave the Saints a 7th.
Right.
And he had been really productive, but he was getting a little bit older. He was kind of expensive, so the Saints were willing to do the deal. It was kind of a salary dump for them, and the Jaguars thought they were getting a good player. He ended up not being very good.
Yeah.
So obviously I want more production than what he gave.
I was going to say I don't even remember him, to be honest with you.
But just that type of transaction in terms of, okay, maybe there's a guy that is not crazy old, but maybe there's a guy that's 31 somewhere.
How about go back to 2017 when we brought in Darius?
Well, yeah, I mean, that'd be awesome.
What we're talking. Somebody like that, I think that's all we really need. And that's just a run, stuff, and plug-in, nose tackle, eating son of a bitch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All he cares about is taking on double teams and eating up guards and centers. And
I got a guard on one shoulder, I got a center on another, and I'm still not moving.
And if you want to run that back to me, I'll make a play. But other than that, all the other guys are going to make a play.
Yeah.
You know? I think we need that. So, look, it's still May. There's plenty of time. There will be injuries, knock on wood. I don't want anybody getting injured. That sucks. But there could be guys available. And cuts happen. And, I don't know. I haven't looked at a free agent class in a long time. But, look, Brandon Sheriff's still out there, right? So there's got to be nose tackles out there. At least 1 or 2 that maybe can help you. But maybe you go in, thinking you could again. If they change the attitude, it's going to make a world of difference. If our attitude as a team is a lot better than last year, it's going to make a world of difference.
I agree.
I mean, come on. There were way too many errors last year for this, to even think this team was fully prepared. And I put a lot of it on the players. You can put it on the coaches all you want, but I put it on the players. It's their freaking job to know. And time after time, they failed. So, new attitude, new latitude, let's go. Right? I think it should be a good one. I don't know. We're going to look a little bit closer. I saw Prisco had him ranked. I forget what he had him ranked. Like teams that are going to, change their landscape for them. He had them at 14 or 15. I think they're going to be better. But, again, it's going to come down to what? Not making mistakes and execution. Looking good on paper only means you look good on paper. And then once you get out there, you find out what kind of team we're going to be. But from what everybody says with Liam and company, this is all about accountability, right? They could do it a different way. I don't think they're going to drop the hammer on them or anything like that. But they want it done a certain way, and they're going to expect it done a certain way. And when I hear they across the board they got to love ball, means you know what? They're going to be tested, and we got to make sure they love ball.
So
got to make sure they love it because there's going to be times where they hate it. It's just the nature of the beast, but you got to love it more than you hate it when those times, and suck it up and figure it out. Make something happen.
So I feel like they've already installed some of that accountability in that we've talked about this multiple times on the show so far, especially since free agency and now the draft. Tommy, there's a lot of guys that had starting positions pretty assumed that are no longer assumed.
Right.
Well, Walker Little ain't a guaranteed starter no more.
If I'm him, I'm training like a mother.
Exactly.
I'm going crazy.
Exactly.
I'm doing everything I can.
And there's positions like that across the roster now where it's like, man,
running back.
You can't assume anything anymore, man. Like, right. And I think it's finally got they've already installed some of that accountability via roster construction by bringing in new guys that can truly challenge some of these players that have just been far too comfortable for too long.
Yeah. I mean, look, if Tank doesn't lay the ball down last year, maybe he only lays it down once instead of 4. Now, granted, we recovered 3, but he laid it down 4. You draft the running back still? That high? Because he can take it to the house, can't he? Can't take it to the house pretty much from anywhere?
Yeah.
The only thing you're worried about is what? Holding onto the ball and pass pro.
And catching the ball, too.
He's
had trouble catching the ball at times, but I would just say hands in general.
Because, I'm looking forward to seeing what the kid from Virginia Tech can do. I mean, 4.3 speed is 4.3 speed. That's Freddie Taylor. That's Fred Taylor's speed. That's to the house, anywhere on the field type speed. But he's been known to put it on the ground, too. You know what I mean? You got Tank, puts it on the ground. You bring in a kid who puts it on it. Like, if I'm Tank, I'm like, well, what'd you bring him in for?
Yeah.
I put it on the ground enough.
Well, you even look at, too, like, I mean, I like Parker Washington a lot, but they brought in De'Ami Brown for a reason, man. Like, they're not going to let Parker Washington go through camp and just have a guaranteed starting slot spot. You know what I mean?
Right.
They're going to make those two compete for who the main slot guy is. And when they got 4 guys, they'll probably all 4 be out there. But, like, it's just the way they set up the roster is breeding for a camp where dudes are going to have to fight their ass off for a spot. A spot. Some guys a spot to start. Some guys a spot on the team.
Yeah.
I think Tyler Lacey is no longer going to be able to show up to camp and have a job.
And start on the D-line on opening drive.
No disrespect to the man, but, like, come on. But it's stuff like that, Tommy.
Same for Ledbetter. Same for D-Ham.
I think with what Baselli and Gladstone and Liam have put their heads together, because Cohen hasn't been able to do a whole lot coaching-wise yet.
Right.
They just haven't had a whole lot of time on the field and stuff. But what they have been able to do is roster construction and make these guys look over their shoulder and be like, oh, no, I better bring it or I ain't going to be here.
Right.
So
no, I agree, man. It's always good to have a sense of urgency, which is something they didn't have. Think about that. When's the last time you saw our Jaguars have a sense of urgency? It seems like forever ago.
Another example of sense of urgency and accountability, Andre Sisco was not good enough last year.
Right.
He ain't on the team.
I know.
He ain't on the team for a reason.
Well, a lot of guys aren't. I mean, think about it. They only brought back Cole.
Yes.
Van Lanen. And by the way, I like him. So that we talked about, you said the floor of whether he ends up being a starter, which right now I don't think he is, but if it's an open competition, if I'm him, I'm training to be the starter. You showed you could start. Listen, as a guy that went through that, right, my second year, I got a chance to start. I started 15 games. Like that next year, like if I didn't hurt my knee, I felt like I was going to be the starter. I felt great. I was confident. I played it at a good level. I made plays. I felt good. Like, you know what I mean? Like the more you play, the better you should be. You should feel. So that confidence is huge. Yeah, I don't know with Cisco. And then Cisco, week 4, complaining about guys quitting and stuff? I don't know. Really weird. But anyway, regardless, they got out with the old, in with the new. It's a new era. Now it's all there, right? You just replaced all your personnel department, your everything. Scouting department, all of that. It's all under Gladstone. It's all under Liam Cohen. It's all under Tony Baselli. Now you got your pot, man, and they're all in there. All the ingredients are in there. Let's stir that shit up and make sure we come out with some victories. A lot of victories. We'll talk more throughout the week. Quick reminder, both Grammage and I will be off next week. Grammage will be on his honeymoon. We will be Friday. You're here
That's
Friday,
right.
though, right?
I'm here Friday,
Yeah, me too.
Fly out Saturday.
And then next, oh, you do? All right. And then my family's heading south for a little bit as well, so looking forward to getting away. But I'll be catching up with Tommy Mack from a remote place down in Keys at our friend's place that they rent down in Almirada in the Keys. So looking forward to that. But I'll be back then. But we'll be back Friday before I take my seat on Jaguars Today with Mike Dempsey, Fat Tony, and Dylan Denmark. And it's going to be a great week. Hope you have a great week. Brought to you by Team Tommy Mack. You saw the shirt. J-Dog. Hey, listen, if you got some junk, you got some construction debris, go to jdog.com or get 844-GET-JDOG is the number spelled with the O-G. Carpet Man Flooring, more than just luxury vinyl plank and LVP, all types of flooring. that anything for office, for your home, whatever it may be, highest quality at the lowest prices. Carpetman.biz is that website. Morgan & Morgan, the number one personal injury law firm in the entire free world. They are humongous. They have the resources. You get hurt, you go to forthepeople.com and get hooked up with Morgan & Morgan. Chris Rosero's bail bonds, the number one name in the bail game. You get thrown in the clink, they get you out in a blink. No question about that. 904-822-2245. I've seen it firsthand. They do brilliant work. In a time of darkness, they are a shining light. That's Chris Rosero's bail bonds. Azar Sausage, home of Azar Sausage, third-generational, homegrown and down home, whether in your favorite dish or in a bun. Azar Sausage is the one. Freedom Finance, my friend Courtney Myers. You need a fractional CFO to come in and help your early-stage business or startup or making the transition to grow. You bring in a fractional CFO like my man Courtney Myers at Freedom Finance, freedomfinance.LLC. He'll help you out from bookkeeping, forecasts, and raising funds, what have you. He's the man for the job. Newmark Phoenix Realty Group, the number one commercial real estate firm in the entire land here in Northeast Florida. PhoenixRealty.net. They've got all types of the commercial real estate landscape covering from investment sales, development, retail, office, and industrial. 904-399-5222. Family Tradition Specialty Foods, home of Coconut Joe's hot sauces. The Sriracha, man, I tell you, it's my favorite. I like the Pineapple Ghost number 2, but the Sriracha is my favorite. It's absolutely phenomenal. Put Pound Team Tommy Mac in the discount code bar and get a BOGO free at FamilyTraditionsSpecialtyFoods.com. Code Ninjas, CodeNinjas.com. Get your kid into a camp this summer, man. I tell you what, they're going to learn all about coding, technology, Roblox, Minecraft. They're going to build their own games. They're going to get them outside. They're going to get them some exercise. It's going to be a well-rounded camp. Get them out of your hair and into camp at Code Ninjas and CodeNinjas.com. Now with 5 great locations. Salt Air Inn and Suites, boutique hotel just off the beach and just near all the action in Atlantic Beach. They've got concierge service. They'll bring you anything you need, including bikes, umbrellas, chairs, surfboards, paddleboards, you name it, they take care of you. Go to visitsaltair.com for the night, for the weekend, or for a full family getaway. And finally, last but not least, the Baracus Group to take care of all your security, personal security and security at your business. The response team's unbelievable. They are there to help you and serve their community, and they're there for you. Go to bgsjax.com for the Baracus Group. Thanks to 1010XL. Great to be here in part of the family. All right, that'll do it for us. Thanks so much. Had to pay the bills there, my friends, and hope you enjoyed this show. It's going to be interesting how they use Travis Hunter, but you got to think about, like, okay, what is realistic? How do we keep this young man healthy and extremely productive, right, and helping the team out on both sides of the football? It'll be an interesting balance, I think. And, again, I'm 2/3 offense, 1/3 defense. That's what I'm looking for out of Travis Hunter. And I'm going to continue to say, don't forget about Brian Thomas Jr., because he truly is a X-receiver and a wide receiver number 1. All right, man, that'll do it for us. Stay safe. Be cool, stay safe. We'll see you right here on Catching Up with Tommy Mac. Peace and love, everybody. Have a great day and week.